So you have a choice of listening to me or listening to that Led Zeppelin music that was just playing, which actually I might lose that argument. I think I know what I'm going to listen to on the way back home now. It really got me in the mood. Welcome. I'm glad you guys are here. Amazed that we're here at the end of the week and you guys are awake still, and actually at 8 o'clock on a Friday morning. As I was introduced, and so you guys know, I'm not a psychologist, not a benefits administrator, not a person that is somebody that works with employees and counseling and all that. I run a business. I have 10 employees in my company. My company has about 600 clients, all small and medium-sized companies with many different employees, size ranges anywhere from 5 to 5,000. And I do a lot of writing. So every day I'm writing for the Washington Post, and every week I'm writing for a bunch of other places, all on matters of management to small business owners, right, like ourselves. So it's just people that run companies and also work in companies as well read my stuff. And a lot of the stuff that I write about is about employees, because in 2015, 2016, as the unemployment rate has come down, it has become a lot more competitive to find good people, but not only that, but to keep them motivated and to also keep them employed in your company, not to lose them to go somewhere else. And just this year as well, there have been a lot of things going on coming out of Washington that affect us as business owners and managers and how we're running our businesses. Lots of legislation and lots of rules and things that our employees are asking about now. Prospective employees will ask us about as well, and we have to make sure that we're on top of them and we're offering the best benefits possible and the best advantages possible so that we can attract good people, make sure that we're as competitive as possible. So that's what this presentation is all about. I want to go through some of the latest things that's going on in DC. I want to share with you also some pretty cool technologies that are out there as well, and services, because HR technology has become a booming thing in the world of venture capital financing. And so because of that, there's a lot of really cool stuff that's out there. I'm going to share you some of the most recent tools and techs that a lot of my clients are using and that I've been writing about that will help you manage your employees better, find people, evaluate people. I think you'll like that as well. So all that in an hour. So as I talk, as you can tell, I talk a little fast. Feel free to slow me down. We have a small group, so ask questions as we go along. It's completely fine. Don't be afraid or shy about interrupting me as I go along. The whole point is for you guys to walk away from here with some good ideas and some good notes. Fair enough? So you ask me questions. I'll ask you questions as well, just because it's early in the morning. Want to make sure that everybody is staying awake and paying attention. So just to give you an example, so like I like true-false questions just to start out. It's really easy. True or false, right? The Philadelphia Phillies, I'm from Philadelphia, have the second most World Series wins in MLB history. Want to take a guess at that? Okay, it is false. Can anybody guess who has the most World Series wins in MLB history? Yeah, Yankees. That's exactly right. How about number 2? Number 1 is the Yankees. Number 2, it's not the Marlins. It's Cardinals, right? Because they've been around that long. 11 World Series wins. Athletics, Oakland A's, which is kind of Philly, because some of those include when the Athletics were in Philadelphia back in like the 1930s and 40s. Red Sox have 7 wins, so for anybody here from the Boston area with all of your complaining about how lousy your sports teams are, they're not so lousy. They won 7 World Series, for goodness sake. The Dodgers have 7 wins as well. Okay, how about this one, guys? True or false? The Apollo 11 crew were required to fill out customs forms when they returned from the moon. Yeah, it turns out to be true. This is the actual custom form that they were required to fill out. It says all the names of the astronauts. They departed from the moon on July 24th, 1969. Everybody had to sign off when they returned. That is actually a true and real custom form, which I think is kind of funny. And true or false, on January 1st of this year, we talk about employees, it became illegal in the state of New York to pose for a selfie with a tiger. Is that true or false? Yeah, you would think it would be true. Actually, it was false. It was February 1st is when that actually went into effect, an actual law that it became illegal. You're kind of waiting for that tiger to really just stand up and tear that guy's head off his neck. Okay, so this one, true or false? According to a fall 2015 Bank of America study, 30% of small business owners plan to hire new people in 2016. Do you think that's true or false? Okay, it's actually false. It's 67% of business owners in this study, 2/3, plan on hiring people in 2016, which surprised me as well, right? I'm thinking like, geez, we're trying to keep our overhead low and outsource as much as possible, but 67% in the study said they plan on hiring new people sometime in 2016. So we want to talk about that a little bit, okay? Talk about finding and keeping good people in your business, keeping them motivated, keeping them engaged. So let's talk about a few things. Now, first of all, this is all the stuff that has come out of Washington in just the past 2 years that impacts our business and impacts our ability to find and keep and motivate our people, from immigration reform, overtime, minimum wage. All these different things have come out of Washington this year. And a few of them are super important for us to know what they're all about so that we're making sure that we're on top of what these regulations are. One of them is overtime pay. Now, back, the Fair Labor Standards Act has been on right now as we speak, as we're today, right? If you've got anybody in your company that's making more than $24,000 a year, any salaried employee, they are not entitled to overtime. If they are supervising somebody, they're not entitled to overtime. If they're a professional, say you've got like a salesperson, for example, they're considered to be professionals, right? And they're making a salary of more than $24,000 a year, they are not entitled to overtime. This rule, which is by the Fair Labor Standards Act, right, has not been changed in the past 11 years. It's been updated twice in the past 40 years, and it is changing, and it's changing now. Right now, the president has issued an order, and the FLSA has now had a draft order that's out there right now that's up for discussion, where that increase in overtime pay is going to go up to $50,440 for the year, $50,000, which means that if you have got any employees now that are salaried and they're now making less than $50,000 a year, they may be entitled to overtime. They might previously have not been entitled to overtime before, because remember, the limit was only $24,000. So that rule right now is in draft form. That is going to happen in 2016, and we have to prepare. So this trend, that exempt wages that we're talking about, that $24,000 going up to $50,440, that's going to increase in 2016. Thank you. Go ahead. Does not have to be time and a half. It has to be overtime pay, though. They have to be compensated in some reasonable fashion for their overtime pay, but it does not have to be time and a half. That's a great question. Okay, that's a great question. Okay, not only that, some people are saying, I'm saying like more people will be legally entitled to overtime, so what do you do, right? Well, right now, what we should all be doing is looking at all of our employees now that on a salary basis are making less than $50,000 a year. We should be targeting those employees that we think now are going to be eligible for overtime that weren't. We should be reserving for that, like what's that going to cost our business in 2016, and figuring out what we're going to do. Some employers are changing over their employees that were once salary back to hourly, because when they do the math calculation, if they can figure out how much overtime a typical person might be performing, then paying them on an hourly basis might even be less expensive than having them on salary. I don't know if that's the answer for your business or not, but you've got to do it on an employee-by-employee basis. Huge trend. It's going to happen this year. Remember, your employees are going to be asking about this, okay? Please keep asking the questions. That's really good. In addition to that, there's paid time off, right? Now, when the president gave his 2014 State of the Union, 43 million workers, he said, have no paid sick leave at the time. So in September of this year, he issued an executive order which basically told that anybody that's doing business with the federal government, so if anybody in this room has any federal contracts, you are required by law, effective 2017, to provide a minimum 7 days paid sick days off a year for your employees if you're going to do business with the federal government. He has asked Congress to make a national law so that this paid sick days would be required across the country, requiring employers with more than 15 employees to give 7 paid sick days a year. Right now in a Republican Congress, that is not going to be passed this year. But depending on who the candidates are for next year for president, for example, Mrs. Clinton does support national paid sick leave law, and depending on where Congress goes as well, could have an impact in the elections next year. In addition to what the president has asked for, though, cities and states around the country have been responding. So, for example, Chicago, Philly, Pittsburgh, Seattle, all of these cities, I'm not mentioning them all, they have all passed paid sick leave laws. California and Massachusetts also have established their own paid sick leave requirements, and other states are following suit. And that's just the cities and states. There is also a big push from private companies. So when we look at some of them, Netflix, for example, is now offering unlimited time off for new parents the first year they become a new parent, unlimited. But that's not all. Besides Netflix, Hilton, and don't tell the people at the Westin, by the way, for their hourly workers are now entitled to 10 weeks paid time off. Even their hourly workers get that. Twitter, if you work at Twitter, they don't track their paid time off. They have, I guess they put it on like on a spreadsheet, and they're like, listen, update it if you want to update it. If you don't, it's perfectly okay with us. Whatever, we're Twitter, it's fine. We trust you. They just don't track it at all. That's their actual policy. CarMax, the guys that sell cars, salaried associates are granted as many paid sick days off as they feel they need for their health and their well-being. They're like, I'm not feeling up to stuff. Next year, 9 months, is that fair that I can take, just to get my head back in the game? Anyway, this is what the rules are. LinkedIn just announced just last month, and it's not on this slide, unlimited paid time off for everybody. Unlimited. Okay, so it's just now, whenever I talk about this and I look around, particularly people running business, you're like, you've got to be kidding me. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I mean, these companies are offering this stuff. So just so you know, a couple things going on here that you should be aware of, particularly for these companies, if they're larger companies, if they're in Silicon Valley, they're competing for their employees, they're not so dumb. Because if you've got an unlimited paid time off policy and you've got a guy working in this cubicle who takes 10 months time off a year, takes advantage of it, and then you get the other guy here who takes no time off in a competitive environment, who's going to be up for that raise next year, who's going to be up for that promotion, right? It's almost like the companies are basically putting the onus on the employees. Go ahead, you take as much time off as you think you need, and if that impacts your career, well, so be it. That's your decision to make. So I think actually a lot of employees will be taking less time off, because they're being given that decision, and in a competitive environment, they might not be taking advantage of it all. But the bottom line is this stuff is making the news, right? You've heard of this. We've read about this. It's all over. And so are your employees. Your employees are looking at this. They have heard that these companies are offering this as well. They know that you're much smaller. They know that these guys are much bigger as well. But they will be asking, just like prospective employees will be asking. This whole presentation is about motivating and keeping your existing employees and attracting new employees. So the trend is expect continued change at the regional level, not federal. The outcome of the presidential election could decide if something like this goes national. But in the meantime, smart business owners are creating their own proactive paid time off policy. You need to have one in your business so that when you are asked, and you will be asked because people are seeing this in the news, you've got an answer and a response, and you've got something that's somewhat competitive. No, it doesn't have to be unlimited time off for the year, but it should be something. Got to have that policy. In addition, quickie elections were passed for unions back in April. So I speak all around the country, and depending on the region and the industry, some industries have more exposure to unionization than others. Some companies do as well. Because of the new rules that were passed by the National Labor Relations Board back in April, you can now form a union in a company, not just of your entire company. It could be a department or a group of employees. And what used to take 6 to 12 months now takes 10 to 25 days because they have now expedited the rules. A lot of the filings and things can be done online, and they've moved up all the timelines. So, for example, if a union comes into your company and wants to unionize a small group of people or a larger one, the employer has to immediately post a petition of election within 2 days, and all disputes and a statement of position by the employer must be heard within 8 days of filing, and a union is allowed to hold elections within 10 to 25 days after that petition has been filing. So there is something I want to make sure that you're aware of. If you think you are exposed to unionization by not just your entire company, but just a group, and because it's so much easier for unions to form, you must talk to a labor attorney now, because it is those companies that have all the paperwork and their ducks in order that will be able to respond if anybody wants to unionize in your company. So make sure you talk to a labor attorney, get your ducks in order, because this quickie unionization rule has moved up the timeline and created a lot more unionization around the country. One more final thing. the joint employer ruling from the NLRB also affects your employees. To put it in a nutshell, and you can read the slide, it's basically this. If you're a McDonald's franchisor, for example, or a Subway franchisor, you think you're independent because you own a franchise, but Subway is there, and Subway is issuing certain regulations about your employees because they're trying to make sure their franchisors are staying in compliance and being consistent with how they hire and how they manage their employees. But theoretically, or it's supposed to be, those employees are the employees of that individual franchisor, right? That independent person. Well, the NLRB passed a new ruling this year called joint employer. So if any large company, whether it's a big franchise company or whether it's a company you might be subcontracting out to, and that company is giving you certain rules as to what you can and can't do with your employees, how they must work, what uniforms they have to wear, what rules they have to comply with, there might be joint ownership of those employees, which basically means that if an employee sues or an employee has an issue, that larger company could be pulled into that same problem. So franchise industry, larger companies get a bigger say over your benefits, employment practice and pay, and reduces your autonomy because now they're liable for what your employees do. And franchise industries are concerned, and a bunch of other industries are also liable to something like this. So this rule just passed just a couple of months ago, and we're going to see how that plays out. Fine. So, true or false? There is a new federal law requiring you to provide paid time off to your employees. Is that true or false? Right? Not yet. It's false, okay? So, if you're a federal contractor and you're doing work for the federal government, it is a law that you need to do that, right? It's an actual executive order. But right now, there is not a national law. Depending on how the presidential elections turn out and the congressional elections might be a difference. True or false? If a worker supervises other employees, he or she is entitled to overtime. Right? Yeah, that's false, right? Okay, so even if, remember, $24,000 is the exempt level, $50,440 it's going up to this year, it will happen. But even so, if an employee supervises somebody else, that person would not be entitled to overtime. So you want to take that. It's a title, but it's got to be something even more than just having a title. They actually have to be providing supervisory duties, okay? So, I mean, there has to be some type of management. If you get audited, so here's what happens, and it's a great question. The IRS and the Department of Labor is not going to come looking for you unless they're notified, right? So if an employee is disgruntled or he or she is not getting overtime pay and they think they deserve to be getting overtime pay, they're the ones that are going to file a complaint against you with the Department of Labor, or they might also notify the IRS as well. And the Department of Labor comes in and says, this person says that they're entitled to overtime, and your response is, no, they're a supervisor. That's what their title is. They're going to ask for proof. Who are they supervising? Where is that part of their job responsibility? Where is that in their job description? Okay? So it has to be real life action. Okay? Great question. Please. Same thing. Right. Yeah, I hear you. So another great question. There's so many overlap between what people call paid time off and what people call sick days themselves. So you're right. President Obama is referring to it as sick days, but of course everybody. Yeah, that's exactly right. But it's exactly right. It's being miscarried. They're the same thing. They're the same thing. Okay. It's a great point. It really is, and it drives me nuts. And the other thing. That's correct. And the reason why is just to address the same issue that you just talked about. And people say, look, I'm not going to argue whether you're sick or not. Our company policy is you have a certain amount of days of paid time off that you can take. If you're sick, you're sick. If not, whatever. That's just what it is. So we don't get into that whole argument as to whether you're sick or not, okay? Because it is annoying. When people do have sick days, they tend to take them. So you might as well just call them paid time off. All right, good. And also, let me just ask this question. See if anybody can answer this. Together, a bat and a ball cost $1.10. The bat costs $1 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost? This is an SAT question. Nobody gets this right. See how good you are. Who wants to take a shot? Anyone? Who's brave? Actually, right? It's 5 cents, right? look it up. The bat costs $1 more than the ball. The bat's got to be 5 cents. Then that way the ball will be $1.10 will be $1 more than the ball. You can look that up. Most people choose 10 cents because you think it's 10 cents for the ball and $1 more, but it's 5 cents if you do the math. And how about this, true or false? Hall of Fame pitcher Randy Johnson hit a bird while throwing a pitch in a game. Is that true or false? Yeah, that's actually true. This is actually, he was pitching, it was in 2001. And it's against the Giants. And actually, it wasn't a bird, it was a dove, which makes the story even more sad. And when Randy Johnson finally retired, he started a photography company, and that was the logo on his photography company, which I thought was pretty funny. So yeah, that's a true story. All right, so we have all these things that Washington is impacting your people, all these different whatever, right? Now, we want to talk about retaining your people. So with all the regulations going on, what are some employers doing, some perks that they're offering, the most popular ones, to keep their people happy and retained? Because we want to be in compliance with some of these rules, but we also want to do something extra. So I've got something I'd like to share with you just so we have an idea. So for starters, okay, we talked about paid time off. There's reimbursed training as well. Big perk this year that's being offered, one of the most #1 things for an employee perk, sending them to conferences like that, like this, getting them trained. Unlimited vacation or paid time off has become popular. Discounts with local merchants. I'm going to talk to you about a service that does that. Free food, lunch, and drinks in your office. Another idea, what does it cost to get pizza? I have a Pizza Friday once a week. Also extremely popular. This is all from a company called Glassdoor.com, which surveyed something like 2,500 companies around the country for their top perks. Flu shots, providing them not only a healthy employee, but a healthier workplace at all. Having a doctor come in and give free flu shots for a day so everybody gets vaccinated is good. And speaking of free, giving away free stuff. And I wanted to share with you a few free stuff ideas that have been popular with my readers and my clients. Just a few, right? I have one client that subscribes to an organization called Amazing Clubs. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with what Amazing Clubs does. It is a monthly gift club. And what they do is they have an employee of the year or an employee of the month. And what they do is for the next 3 months or 4 months, the employee gets delivered to them at home, cookies, cakes, bottle of wine. They have a whole bunch of different things that they do. And what's nice about it, it's inexpensive. Like a bottle of wine is like 10 or 12 bucks. And not only is it inexpensive, but if the person's an employee of the month or employee of the quarter, they're hearing about it for the next 3 or 4 months, right? It's not just a one-off thing. It's reminding them what a great employee you are and how much you appreciate them, not just when you're giving them the gift, but for the next 3 or 4 months, because it's a monthly thing. Plastic Jungle, which is now renamed itself to Card Cash. Not familiar if you know what this is. This is a site that sells the cards, gift cards. Except there's a twist to the gift cards. They sell discounted gift cards to every single chain and store and restaurant that you can imagine. So I'll give you an example. Last Christmas, somebody gave me a gift card to the hair cuttery. Somebody gave me a gift card to the hair cuttery, okay? It was like $100. It was not a very valuable gift to me. So I went to Card Cash, right? I sold the $100 gift card for $50, which was $50. That was like money from heaven for me. They took it, put it up on their site, and they sell it for $75. You get it? So everybody wins, right? And what happens there is that if you want to give out gift cards to your employees as a bonus, as a thank you, as a whatever, good job, don't just buy them from CVS and then pay the fee and all that. I just have a lot of clients that go to Card Cash to buy them at a discount. Really great little service. Citibank, I wanted to mention them as well, only because I have about a dozen clients that use them as well. People use, I don't know if you do this as well, all purchases you should be making both personally and in your business should be done with a credit card as much as you possibly can. Pay it off that month. You're not paying any interest on it, and you get points. And if you use something like the Citibank Thank You program, there's a lot of great credit card programs out there. This one I like because you can merge, you have a personal card and a business card. They both go into the same account, so you're just building up the points that you have, so it's just free points. And you can exchange the points for just about anything. I mean, from gift cards to gifts to travel to whatever. You can use it personally for travel. It's like, you know, when you, to me, like you generate miles on American Airlines, and then you want to change it in for a gift. You know, you can only travel to like Fargo in February because everything else is blacked out. But with Thank You rewards, you can change it in you can travel anywhere you want. Get a gift voucher for American Airlines and let your employees choose where they want to go, or just specific. It costs you nothing, right? You've already spent the money. It's like free points that are out there. I just have a lot of clients that do that as a perk for their employees. And finally, there's timeshares. So I bought a timeshare like 10 years ago for like $5,000 in Hawaii. It cost me $5,000 for a week in Mauna Loa, Hawaii. I've never been there. For all I know, it's under like 10 feet of lava. I'm told it's still there. I pay the maintenance fees for it every year, but I give it away every year. I've given it to my employees. It's a week, right? What I do is I change it. I exchange it on their RCI site. It's part of a overall site. Exchange it for a week in Vegas or a week in Orlando, right? Because that's popular. And then I give it away. Say, you've been a great employee this year. Instead of giving you a bonus, here's a week in Vegas. You know what I mean? I got to pay their plane fare, but they get a free week stay somewhere. So it pays back. It really does. And I learned that from a few clients as well when we're talking about employee perks. Some other things on retaining employees. Big thing, again, is from the Glassdoor survey, having a sports team, providing community service, providing maternity and paternity leave. This gets back to paid time off. Providing child care services. Evernote, which is the little mobile app company, they pay for their employees' housekeeping services, right? That's what they do, and it's a perk to employees, and they really like that. Zappos, the guys that make, the shoes, that everybody, a lot of people buy it, are very popular. They provide a bonus for any employee that quits within 2 years of joining. A quitting bonus. If you want to quit, they pay them like $5,000. And their reason why they pay a quitting bonus is because they're like, listen, if the $5,000 is more important to you than working long-term at our company, then we're happy to give you the $5,000. You go your way, and we'll go our way. And that's how they manage. That's how they recruit. That's how they retain. It's like asking their employees just how committed that they are. Not saying that you're going to do that or not. I'm just saying there's innovative ideas that some companies are using to retain their employees. So all different things for retention that you should keep in mind for 2016. So what have we learned? Minimum wages, paid time off, overtime, independent contract, the immigration reform, joint employer, quickie unions. All these are issues that are going to affect you and your people this year and next. Certain things you want to do to retain your employees as well. Very popular from that Glassdoor survey. And oh my goodness, let's not forget the number one issue that's on all employers and employees' minds when you're looking to maintain and keep your people happy as well as recruit new people. What do you think the number one employee expense is, the biggest issue is that's on everybody's mind? Healthcare. That's exactly right. It's Obamacare is the number one thing that employers are talking about and the number one thing that they're using to recruit and bring employees in. So we've got to talk about that as well because this is a key thing when you're talking to your employees in 2016. The biggest is this. We all know, right, about this employer mandate is starting this January, so just in a couple of weeks. In 2015, if you had more than 100 full-time equivalent people in your company, you are required by law now to provide affordable health care insurance to your people. Full-time equivalents. So that's your full-timers. Those are people that work more than 30 hours a week on average are considered to be a full-time person, right? So you have your list of full-timers, and then you've got to do a calculation for your part-timers. We have to add up all of their hours and then divide it by 2,080. That's the denominator of it to come out with a part-time equivalent. And you have to take your full-time people and the part-time equivalent and you add them together, and those are your full-time equivalent people. And if you've got more than 100 this year, you're required to provide affordable health insurance to your full-time people, the guys working 30 hours per week. That whole thing, that number goes down to 50 in just 2 weeks. So if you are running a company right now or a manager in a company and you've got 50 full-time equivalent people in your company, full-timers and part-timers, remember you got to do that calculation, you're over 50, you are required by law now to provide affordable health care insurance to those people, your full-timers only, or you pay a penalty. And the penalty is $2,000 per employee. That's what the penalty is. You can exclude the first 30 people from that calculation, but that's what the penalty is. So the big question is this, okay? As we're looking into 2016, everybody asks me the question, I'm not like, what do we do? What are our options? How do we handle our health care? What are some of the things that we have that we can do? So I want to discuss them with you right now, what your options are. Because when I talk to business owners around the country, my clients, people that I read to, people I speak to, in 2016, there are 5 things employers are doing when it comes to healthcare. You have 5 choices. And let me share with you what those 5 choices are. Now, we speak 3 or 4 years from now, these choices will probably be different. but now these are what the choices are, so let's make you aware of them. Choice number one is you can just drop all coverage, right? Some people do that. They might have, I don't know, 51 full-time equivalent people. They drop the coverage. 51, that you could exclude 30 from that penalty calculation. So now it's 21 times 2,000. It's only $40,000 a year. Compared to what they're paying in healthcare, it's a lot less. They're like, enough with this nonsense. I'm sick of this whole Obamacare stuff. I'm just dropping the coverage, and the employees are out on their own, and that's what they're doing. So that's an option. Most people I know are not doing that. Okay, they're not choosing that option. And, some of the answer is pretty obvious, right? First of all, you're already offering, a lot of you are already offering health insurance. So what, just because the government is saying we're going to penalize you for not offering health insurance, suddenly you're going to stop offering it? People don't do that. And also, health insurance is a benefit, right? This whole conversation is about attracting and retaining good people and all that. So the guy down the street's offering health insurance. You're not trying to attract employees. It's people want to have some type of plan in place. So it's an option. It's just I don't see it as a very popular option. Number two, though, has become more and more popular. More and more employers are working the loopholes. And let me explain to you what I mean by the loopholes. Skinny plans. Right now, actually, this went back to 2014, all of us in this room are required by law to have health insurance, right? We have to check off a box on our tax return saying that we have health insurance. We pay a penalty, right? So we're required by law to have health insurance. However, there's a loophole in the Affordable Care Act. The health insurance that we're allowed to have and our employees are allowed to have will be complied with even if we get what's called skinny plans. These are low level, not very well in coverage, do not provide a lot of benefits, but they're still legal under a loophole in the Obamacare law. They're called skinny plans. So what a lot of employers are doing is they're offering a bronze plan to their employees, a silver and a gold plan, all the eligible plans, so they can say, look, we're in compliance, we're offering this, we're making it affordable, all that passes, but we're also offering to our employees the skinny plans as well, which are a lot less expensive. So listen, they say to their employees, you choose. You can choose the more expensive bronze and silver plans, which we're happy to contribute to, or you contribute the really least expensive skinny plans as well. They're not very good. I'm not saying I recommend this, but I see a lot of clients that are making that offer out there, and it reduces their cost and their employees' cost as well. The second thing that a lot of employers are doing is they're looking at Medicaid and they're looking at subsidies on the exchanges. If you've got anybody in your company that's making less than $46,000 a year, they are eligible for some type of subsidy or Medicaid on the healthcare.gov exchanges. So what a lot of employers are doing is they're making a list of those people. They're going to their accounting managers and their bookkeepers and their controllers, and they're saying, hey, look, I've got a list of these people. I want you to go to these people and get them signed up for health insurance on the Obamacare exchanges, because that will reduce they'll get subsidies, it'll reduce their premiums, and it certainly will reduce ours as well, because they won't be getting health insurance through my company. So working the loopholes by skinny plans, pushing to Medicaid, have been very popular in 2015. Number three, many employers are shifting costs. They're just getting the bronze plans, right? They're taking they're taking the inspiration from the U.S. Winter Olympic team, and they're just going bronze, right? Because who cares what kind of medals we get? It's all about the medal count. And they go to a bronze plan. And the bronze plan is the lowest cost plan. It's still eligible under Obamacare. High deductibles, and they're coupling them with health savings accounts. Talk to your benefits administrator or your whoever's in charge of your employees in your healthcare plan. Ask about health savings accounts, because the health savings accounts can be set up for your employees very inexpensively, and you can put money away from them pre-tax. They can put money away pre-tax, and then they can use it to pay off those high deductibles or out-of-pocket costs that they're incurring when they have to go to that, because you've got a bronze plan for them. So you couple the high deductible plan with a good health savings account, and it works for a lot of employees to attract and retain them. Now, high deductible plans are on the rise, okay? The average deductible this year, $1,318 for these high deductible plans. They were $900 just 5 years ago. That's basically saying that employees are paying that much more money out of pocket this year compared to 5 years ago, because so many employers are driving them towards these high deductible plans. 25% of covered workers are now in high deductible plans. And in health savings accounts, their popularity have increased 60%, both in membership and dollars, since 2010 when the Affordable Care Act was signed. So this is not just me saying this is a huge trend that's going on. You got to look into it, and you got to talk to your benefits administrator. So dropping all coverage, working the loopholes, shifting costs by getting a bronze and a high deductible plan and an HSA account. Number 4, which I've seen growing in popularity for healthcare expense, is dropping but compensating. And what that means is this: you drop your health insurance altogether. You pay the penalty. Remember, you exclude the first 30 people, so it might be something that's affordable to you, right? And then you tell your employees, look, we're not providing health insurance anymore. However, we're going to bump up your salaries. We're going to give you more in your paycheck, right? For God's sake, do not say that we're going to be giving you more in your paycheck to reimburse you to go out and get health insurance. Because if the IRS hears about that, they're going to penalize you in a big way. All you're doing is you're just increasing people's salaries. So where they were getting a certain amount of dollars last year, you're now paying them more this year, and you're letting them take that money and get their own health insurance and doing what they want. So if they come to you and they say, hey, the guy down the street is offering health insurance and you're not, your response is, yeah, he's doing that, but we're paying our people a lot more, okay? And we're giving them the choice. They don't have to be married to our plans. They can get health insurance anywhere they want. If they've got a spouse that's already got health insurance, they've got whatever, they can pocket the money for all we care. We're just paying our people more. Very, very popular in 2015, 2016. And finally, keep an eye out for private exchanges. Ask your benefits administrator about this. Large insurance and consulting companies, Mercer, Towers, Perrin, Aon Hewitt, big companies that serve Fortune 500 firms, they are creating right now their own little mini private Obamacare exchanges. It's their own thing. And it's all in compliance with the law. And if you work for GE or DuPont or Johnson & Johnson or IBM, you're getting your health insurance from a little private exchange. You've got some choices that's made. You can put money away pre-tax, but it's all being managed by somebody else. The employers just write them one check, and they take care of it all. Private exchanges will be coming down to us, smaller and medium-sized companies, in the next couple of years. So keep your eyes open for that. That is an option. Now, there are huge issues to watch with healthcare that you want to be aware of as you're recruiting and maintaining and managing your employees. High deductible plans, I know I said, are on the rise. Enrollment in the Affordable Care Act is falling way below estimates. In October of 2015, back in 2010, 34 million people were uninsured. They didn't have health care insurance, right? So the exchanges needed 20 million people in order to pay for themselves. To date, only 9.1 million people have registered on the exchanges, and they're estimating by the end of this open enrollment to have about 11.4 million people. Half of the uninsured that are still not getting insurance are the 18 to 34-year-old group. They're in good health, they're younger, and they say it's not worth the price. They're prioritizing their pay downs of student debt and car repairs and savings. So big problem for enrollment on the Obamacare exchanges. Wall Street Journal in October said the exchanges won't survive actuarially unless they attract the 18 to 34 demographic. In addition, something called medical loss ratios are incredibly high for insurance companies right now. A medical loss ratio, it's this. If you're an insurance company, you've got to have enough premiums coming in to cover your costs. That's called your medical loss ratio, right? You've got to have at least 80% of your premiums that's coming in have got to be covering your costs, and you have to have 20% left over for overhead and profits. Right now, 11 states are reporting that their insurance companies, their premiums are below their cost by over 100%. So for every dollar that they're bringing in premiums in Massachusetts, they're spending $1.21 right now because the costs are just too darn high. Premiums need to rise between 10 to 52% over the next few years to make up for that loss. And that brings me to the next issue, which is called risk corridors. All this affecting our employees. When Obamacare was signed in 2010, the insurance industry had to do a deal with the government. The government was like, listen, we need you guys to participate in these exchanges. So to do that, you got to put your premiums on, you got to put your policies on there, come up with good premiums. The insurance companies were like, we don't know if this is going to succeed or not. This is all new to us. How can we come up with premiums? So the government said in 2010, listen, if you screw up if your premiums are too low, if you incur any losses, we got you covered. We've got a new program for you called the Risk Corridor Program. We will insure you, the insurance companies, if you screw up your premium calculation. So therefore, the insurance companies could go on the Obamacare exchanges, put it out there, and if they had any losses, the government would pay for them. That program is ending at the end of 2016. It goes away, which means that if the insurance companies are experiencing any of those losses from those medical losses, they're not getting reimbursed by the government for those losses. Who do you think is going to have to reimburse them? I don't think I need to give you any more ideas. So that's another issue that we're all looking at after 2016. And finally, you should see these rate requests. In the summer, all the states, the insurance companies in the states are required to give in rate requests to get their insurance for the next year. In some states, Tennessee, I don't know if anybody here is from Tennessee, right? Yeah, lucky you, right? They requested 36% increase. You're going to see a 36% increase in your health insurance rates next year. North Carolina, 35%, Kentucky, 25%, and only in Florida can they request a 5% rate increase and get approved for a 10% rate increase. We need to figure out how they get that stuff done. But this gives you an example of the type of ranges of premium increases. Why is that happening? Because Larry Levitt from the Kaiser Family Foundation, who tracks all this stuff, insurers now have a growing pool of data. And because they were completely guessing before, now they know what's going on and they're increasing their rates accordingly and preparing for the end of that risk corridor program. All these issues are here to watch. And finally, of course, the 2016 presidential elections are coming up. The Democratic candidates, or candidate, should we say, right? Mrs. Clinton, she wants to maintain the Affordable Care Act with some changes, but for the most part, maintain it. The Republicans are pretty much coming together. I mean, obviously, there's different proposals among the major candidates, but some of the real similarities that have a lot of weight is offering a refundable tax credit for those people that don't have health insurance on the jobs, not making it required for employers to provide health insurance anymore, deregulating the insurance and medical practices and keeping the Cadillac tax. That's happening in a few years. We won't even go into that. But they have decided to keep that because they need the funding. So pay close attention to the elections to see how that will come out. These are all issues that will affect health care, the biggest benefit that your employees and prospective employees are expecting in 2016. So, true or false? If your company has more than 50 full-time employees, you must provide health insurance for everyone after January 1, 2015. Okay, it's false, okay? That's 2016, right? It was 100, 2015. Starting in January, if you've got more than 50 full-time equivalent people, you got to provide affordable health care insurance. There's a definition to that. It's a whole other topic, but you got to provide that after January 1st, 2016. True or false? Health savings accounts have become a popular option to help offset the cost of high deductible plans, right? That's true. So you get a bronze plan. Ask about a health savings account. It's a great benefit. You can put money away. Your employees can put money away pre-tax. Use it to pay off those extra costs. By the way, it rolls over, doesn't go away, so you have to use it up all in 1 year. Really great benefit that you want to look into for your employees. And true or false, One Direction's Harry Styles has 5 nipples. Actually, the answer to that is false. He has 3 nipples, and I found that out by reading this article, Celebs with Triple Nipples, from Harry Styles to Liliane, in case any of you guys want to check out the facts on me. True or false, Gene Marks, that's me. My latest book went to #1 on Amazon.com. It's false. It's not even close. It's like $250,000, right? And you would think, look, the manufacturer's book a list, it would have been just ripping off the shelves, right? Like real stocking stuffers. However, my other book, In God We Trust, Everyone Else Pays Cash, where I talk about employee management and cash flow, sold quite well. You can pick that up on Amazon.com. And one other thing, true or false, G Marks, that's me. My monthly newsletter is read by over 1 million people. It's very nice of you. It's false. It's like 10,000, okay, which isn't bad, right? It's a pretty good list. It's 10,000, right? Now, but the reason why I bring that up is that every month, as I'm writing, so I'm writing every day for the Washington Post, and I write every week for Forbes and Inc. and Entrepreneur. I have people that help me and do some research. I have hundreds of links at the end of a month to articles and great stuff written online that help me run my business, right? Selfishly, I pick out the 10 things written that month. I just did this for November that were just helpful for my business. Managing inventory, hiring people, lowering my taxes, whatever. Just 10 good things written that month. And I said, okay, well, I picked out these 10 things for me. I throw them into this newsletter and I share it for anybody who wants to subscribe. Feel free to sign up. You'll get the 10 things that I think are really the most useful online for running your business every month. Okay, so what have we learned? All these things are affecting our employees that are coming out of DC this year. The Affordable Care Act is facing big issues. Smart business owners are watching carefully to be competitive. Finally, in the last 15 minutes or so that we have, let's talk a little bit about some technology, shall we? I want to share with you some really cool human resources, personnel, payroll. These are cloud-based techs and tools that I think you'll like. These are what my clients are using. I've been writing about them all year, so let me share a few of them for you. First of all, a few tools for finding people. You want to go, where do I find good people? How do I, I need them. And when I talk about finding people, by the way, I don't mean like just management people. I mean people that, will do repair work, people that will do service work, so of all different levels. So here's a few different sites. ZipRecruiter, fantastic service and a great site. What ZipRecruiter does, it mashes up all of the recruiting websites that are out there. So, there's like, Monster.com and Career Builder, and there's all these different sites that are out there, Yahoo Jobs, whatever. If you go to ZipRecruiter, you pay one fee. You can choose which sites that you want it to be recruiting from. You write up the ad, and then it populates it to all the different sites. And then as responses come in, they come into one place. So you can manage the responses and then qualify them down to the ones that you really want. If you want to make one change to your ad, like, oh my God, what was I doing offering 40 grand for this job? Am I crazy? It should be like 32 grand. You can go and you make an edit to it, and it repopulates all the sites, all at one time. So there's a single repository, single place to manage all the recruiting that you're doing. Extremely popular site among many of my clients. Work4 is a different site. 58% of job applicants in 2015 were using social media to find their job. And again, I do not care what line of work these people are in. And when I talk about social media, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn are the three big sites that they're out to. People are using social media to do that. So different than ZipRecruiter, Work4, which just received a whole bunch of funding just a few months ago, is the same type of recruiting site, but rather than going to Monster.com and Career Builder and Yahoo Jobs, it is going straight out to Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, searching for people there and then managing responses there. Posting ads on there, looking for qualified candidates for you. You give keywords, you give requirements, making suggestions for you. A wonderful service and a great site. It's called Work4. To subscribe to is very good. And finally, there's InstaWork when you're looking to find good people. This is a New York-based company found by two ex-Google executives, and here's what they do. For many of us running a business, you lose an employee, it's not just the impact on your business, but then you're like, oh my God, I got to start from square one and find somebody else, and I don't have the time to do this, and it's like, it's just a huge pain, right, to do that, particularly if I have 10 people, I lose like one people, I'm like that now 2 weeks of my time to find somebody new. What InstaWork does is you actually reach out to them, fill out a form, they will reach back out to you and interview you. You will tell them all the qualifications that you're looking for in an employee, and whatever that may be, and then they will go out and do the searching for you. So they do all the search, and then they have an automated process, not a recruiting firm. All you're doing is like a service fee that you're paying. And then what they'll do is they'll send you a list of qualified candidates, schedule the interviews for you. Once they do that initial review, it's all done online. So you're not paying a percentage of the salary or anything like that. You're just paying them either a monthly fee or a quarterly fee, depending on how long the search is going. That's where online recruiting is going. So these are three great tools to find good people that you want to consider using. Now, there are also a number of great tools to help you manage your people. So when you are doing research for people, Intellius and Checker are new background checking services, new because they're like 2 or 3 years old, with very, very intelligent algorithms for search that will do search backgrounds on not only all public stuff, but also through social media and all sorts of different things online to find background information about the employees that you're looking to minimize the risk of unexpected surprises from an employee that you've hired, and then you find out like 4 weeks later that they're like a member of the Nazi party, right? So you want to, this does good background checking to do something like that, okay? Zenefits. I don't know if anybody heard of Zenefits. They've been in a big lawsuit with ADP. Zenefits, fantastic company. Recently valued, they got an $84 million fund. They were recently valued at $4.5 billion. They were founded in 2011, right, just to give you an idea, which, by the way, in Silicon Valley is nothing, right? $4.5 billion is just, it's pocket change. But what Zenefits does is this. They are a full-blown payroll, HR, and benefits platform for companies of any size. So they will do your payroll. They will do all of your onboarding, whatever forms and checklists you have to do, manage vacation time, manage paid time off as well, manage employee evaluations, manage, if somebody's leaving the company, the whole exit process. But then what their big thing is, though, is they provide all the Obamacare benefits as well. So if you sign up with Zenefits and use them well, you're actually leaving your current health insurance and getting your health insurance through them, and they manage it all. So like, remember when I told you there's like a calculation for full-time equivalent employees that you have to do and all that? They're automatically doing that calculation for you. They're doing all the numbers for you. And then you're buying your insurance through them. And that's how they get paid, okay, is through the insurance commissions. So great and valuable site, very, very popular. Over 2,000 companies use them. And finally, Gusto. It's formerly called Zen Payroll. There is a big trend now as the fees for having outsourced payroll from ADP and Paychex now are going up and up and up. New online payroll services are making it easier and easier to do payroll, particularly from an administrator's point of view. Gusto has a wonderful payroll system. They just got $26 million in funding. They're also a unicorn. They're valued at more than $1 billion. And they not only provide the payroll, you do it all yourself, but they have a whole service arm that will help you if you get notifications from the IRS or anything like that. So four great online services for managing your employees. Now, some other tools, please. Yes, thank you.
You say that they're getting millions of dollars of funding.
Yeah.
Are you telling us that these corporate companies are getting funding from our government?
No, great question. So the question is, are they getting funding from the government? When I'm referring to they're getting millions of dollars of funding, private investor funding, mostly from venture capital firms. So when I say like Zen Payroll, Gusto got $26 million of money, that means they just raised $26 million from investors, from venture capital firms. But the reason why I bring that up is because people are sinking money, not the government, into these companies because they strongly feel, smart people strongly feel that these companies are growing and have a lot of potential in future. So I like that as a business owner. I'm like, okay, if these guys think these companies have got it going on, it might be of interest for me to be using their services. Okay, good.
How did they get that funding?
It's another, so that's a whole other conversation for another day. But when you are in Silicon Valley, the guy that runs Gusto, for example, I'm going to really depress you, okay? The company's valued over $1 billion. It's a payroll service company. The guy that runs it is 29 years old, okay? Just to really depress you, okay? He's like he's like a genius. His name is Josh Reeves. He's a Stanford grad, MIT, a graduate school degree as well, and went out, started this company with a partner of his, built it from the ground up, and we're at a period right now where because interest rates are so low and because money has been so free from the Federal Reserve, there are a lot of investors and investment firms that have a lot of cash sitting around. They're not going to put it in the bank because they're not earning. So they're looking for new exciting companies like Gusto to sink money in because they can get more of a return doing that than putting it in a bank account where it earns 0% interest. So this kid appears, and by the way, he's there's 1,000 of them in Silicon Valley, like really smart, that are developing these things and attracting a bunch of money. That's how it is, okay? So go back to school, okay? MIT, I hear, is a very good school, right? If you want to consider it, it could be a little hard to get into, but study hard. Okay, so some other good services in HR management. This is a good one that's been popular with my clients called AnyPerk. Here's what AnyPerk is, okay? It's $10 an employee a month, okay? This provides perks to your employees in the form of discounts to a whole bunch of companies, both local and nationally. So when you hire a new employee, you're like, hey, welcome to our company. Here's a goodie bag of discounts that you get. 10% off the local gym, 20% off, Avis car rental, 10% off hotels. You choose all the different companies that you want to be part of whatever the program is, and then it gets offered to your employees. It's just a perk, right? For your employees or prospective employees, it's another thing. When you're recruiting, people are trying it, so it's a nice little thing to offer. So check out their site. It's actually very cool. Glint is very interesting. Mostly for bigger companies, what Glint does, it does employee feedback. Everybody walks around with a little mobile app, and you can ask them questions, and they can respond to it, and then it tallies it all up. Gmail is a place to get all government and employment forms that you're looking for to download, and HR web forms. There's another site for any HR paperwork. I'm just sharing with you, these are 4 different sites that are very, very popular among all of my clients that people use to go and get the information that they need. Okay, so just a few more just to mention, okay, because they've been super, super popular this year. Project management in your company, managing your employees if you're doing projects. And projects can be anything from cleaning out your office to working on some new opportunity to preparing for a trade show, right? I mean, it's projects, right? So Basecamp and Asana, they're 2 separate applications. Very inexpensive project managers. You list your employees, you list all the tasks, all the things that you want to do, all the follow-ups. Everybody, you get the little mobile app if they're running around. They get alerted when they have to do something. You can communicate to them when they have to do something. Very, very good project management applications. Slack, talk about another company that's now valued at about $2.5 billion. Anybody ever heard of Slack? Let me explain to you how this, a couple people have. Let me explain to you how this changes your business so you know what Slack is for any size company. Slack is a mobile application that your employees have on their phones or their desktops or their laptops. And here's what happens. It integrates with your email, Gmail or Outlook or whatever you're using. Whenever you're instant messaging somebody, you're using Slack. Text messaging, you can use Slack. Emailing, it integrates with Slack. Every single message that's going on in your company and externally is going into one database. So 3 months later, you're talking and you're like, remember we were out and we were talking to some guy at the PRI show and then we were going back and forth with him about something that was going on and what happened to what did anybody ever follow whatever? You go into Slack, you put a keyword in, PRI, whatever, keyword that it is. Boom, pulls up all messages that anybody had in your company with anybody else about that keyword. Okay, it's saving all the communications in one place that everybody around your company, you have to go and try to remember where it is and what it is and who said what and that. It's awesome. Okay, very inexpensive to use. Great way to manage your employees. EchoSign and DocuSign, I don't know if any of you guys have heard of this, but these are document management applications for your employees to use. It's mobile apps. So you take a document, you need to get some employee to sign off on things, or you need a customer to sign off on things. You upload it to DocuSign or EchoSign, sends out an email to the recipient, and like marijuana, electronic signatures, pretty much legal in every state at this point, right? So what they do is they get the link to this document that they have to sign off on, and they just click on it on whatever device that they have, or they can sign it if they've got a touch screen, and boom, it's legal, it's stored, it's saved, saves time, makes your employees a lot more productive. Finally, Zendesk is just a help desk management application that I thought would be worthwhile mentioning as well. Okay, just a few more. True or false? Social media is extremely popular for job seekers. True? False? Yeah, true or false? Okay, 58% of people looking for jobs across all industries are looking for them on social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook. That's why Work4 is such a great application to help you find new employees. True or false? Zenefits manages both HR and benefits in a cloud-based system. True, right? Okay, very, very popular application as well and very inexpensive to use to manage your employees. You will find that to be very, very benefit. True or false? According to a 2006 study from the British Medical Journal, sword swallowers run a higher risk of injury when they are distracted. That is true, and our thanks go out to the fine research being done by all the scientists at the British Medical Journal. I'm sure the people in the UK are proud of them. And true or false, a recent study found that 80% of fast food fountain drink dispensers are contaminated with fecal matter. It's false. It's only 50%, okay, so that's fine. Interesting, according to the Journal of Food Microbiology. Okay, so what have we there? Minimum wages, paid time off, overtime, independent contract, the immigration reform, joint employer, quick use. These are all issues that are affecting us and our employees this year. We have to be aware of them. We want to attract good people and maintain good people. The Affordable Care Act is the biggest issue that's affording all of us as we're seeing to manage people, biggest trend that's impacting our business over the next couple of years. And because of the cloud, HR apps for finding, managing people, projects, and benefits are hot. And I just mentioned a bunch of them that I think that you'll like. Pick out one or two. Hopefully they'll be useful in your business as well. I'm just telling you this is what a lot of business owners are using. So I'm not just pulling them out of nowhere. So, true or false? You are much smarter than you were a mere 60 minutes ago. Yeah, it is true. Everybody, thank you very much. If you want a copy of this presentation, I've got a PDF. My email address is right there, gene@marksgroup.net. So feel free to email me. I'd be happy to send you a PDF of this presentation as well.